Just like every season in NASCAR, we start off with the Daytona 500, the wonderful track located in Daytona Beach, Florida, the super speedway, 2.5 miles, and the home of where I have personally won every single season. But again, this is another season in which we have a recession. So if you win the Daytona 500, you're not going to get $1 million off the bat. There's a lot more riding at stake on this. The next track we head to for the second race of the season will be Dockside for the Fisherman 349. Dockside is located in San Bruno, California, and is a road course, 1.5 miles, 7 turns, and a 150,000 person capacity all around the track. Looking forward to heading to Dockside for the first time ever in this career. Keep costs down. NASCAR is going to be heading to California for the second race, or the third race of the season. I apologize. For the third race of the season. So we're going to be doing the Auto Club 500. California Speedway, located in Fontana, California, a great, fast, wonderful racetrack. You guys are going to love that. That's going to be our third race of the season. We stay to the west, and then we head to Las Vegas for the UAW Daimler Chrysler 400. Las Vegas is located in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it is another speedway track. So that is back-to-back speedways that are after Dockside and after the super speedway of Daytona. We then head to my home track, the Atlanta Motor Speedway for the Atlanta 500, a rare nighttime race in Hampton, Georgia. You guys are going to love that because the speeds are only going to pick up in intensity because the lights are going to be down, which means the track is going to be cooler. Texas was such a wonderful track to race at for the infield at the end of last season that they've decided to move Texas Motor Speedway up to the 7th race of the season. And we'll be heading to Fort Worth, Texas for Texas Motor Speedway's Road Course Edition. 6 turns and hopefully a little bit of redemption. Maybe. It all depends on how our car likes to handle. For the 8th race of the season, we head to Daytona Beach and Daytona Beach, Florida. So we head back to Daytona to ride on the sandy beaches. This track will be the most interesting track of them all because we're going to be mixing between asphalt and some sand and dirt. So this is going to be an entirely new experience for everybody. So this is the first time this season where we'll be racing at the Daytona Beach. We have a flyaway race going back to Texas. Instead of racing at the infield, they needed like a week to go ahead and fix it up. And of course, there's a bye week somewhere in the middle of this. So they'll be able to convert the track back over to its, regular old speedway configuration, and perfectly fine for me. That way we can get off the Midwest and get out of Texas, because Texas Samsung Radio Shack 500, located in Fort Worth, Texas, at the 1.5 mile carbon copy of Atlanta Motor Speedway, will be our 9th race of the season. We then head to Phoenix for the Phoenix infield race. Yeah, that's another infield race. So we've got ourselves another road course. NASCAR is going real road course heavy this season, really testing every single driver and every single car out there on the track. And that also means we're going to be tested just as hard. So Phoenix, Arizona's Phoenix infield track will be the first time it's ever been in our series. Hopefully you guys are going to be looking forward to the 10th race. A track that missed the 2005 season was Tiburon in Orlando, Florida. This time, Tiburon is back, the 3-mile super speedway racetrack. There have been some alleged changes that have been made to the track to improve safety for the drivers. So we will be heading to Tiburon for the 11th race of the season, meaning we're going to have a very high-speed, non-restricted race, all under the lights in Orlando, Florida. We get to arguably the toughest part of the season, where we start heading to Darlington for the Carolina Dodge Dealers 400 as the 12th race of the season. Darlington is located in South Carolina and is a speedway race, 1.366 miles in length. And hopefully we'll have a wonderful race here because I'm looking forward to what we can potentially accomplish. Things get a little bit harder as we head to a short track, Richmond, for the Richmond 400 day race, because this time around NASCAR didn't want to do as many night races in the early parts of the season after we have, of course, Atlanta and Tiburon. So this will be a day race at Richmond for the Richmond 400 from Richmond, Virginia. Following the All-Star Open, the All-Star race, comes the Coca-Cola 600, which will all happen at Lowe's. That will be our 16th race of the season. We head into yet another road course this season as we take on the Devil's Canyon Tumbleweed 300, a fantasy track located in Mesa, Arizona. This track is 2 miles, 9 turns of banking, or 9 turns in general, with a capacity to seat 121,000 fans. This one could be a very interesting track. It's narrow, it's fast, and it reminds me a little bit of Sawmill. A track that hopefully needs no introduction, Dover in Dover, Delaware. That speedway gave us some trouble last season, so hopefully this season we'll have a little bit of easier time with Miles the Monster. NASCAR worked a very unique deal to allow Rockingham to stay on the schedule and even moved Rockingham up in the schedule. So this time the Rockingham 400 happens a little bit earlier in the season, around race number 18 or 19. So hopefully we'll have Rockingham stay on the schedule a little bit, going forward. But this is going to be the night race under the lights at Rockingham. It was a good race last time. Hopefully this time we'll provide another spark midway through the season. With only one race date this season, Pocono returns to the schedule. In Long Pond, Pennsylvania, 2.5 mile track, can seat 90,000 people, and hopefully will provide another good race for Neco Darius Racing. We then head to Michigan for the Series 400. This is Steven W1323's home track, so hopefully we'll be able to do really well in Brooklyn, Michigan. A race by popular demand would be the Sonoma 350K. Yes, Infineon under the lights in Sonoma, California. This 2 mile, 10 turn racetrack will provide the heat in the middle of the summer. Also, we'll hopefully be a little bit cooler because we're in the middle of the summer and we don't want to burn up, especially out there. Talladega is on the schedule right after Sonoma. Can't wait to get to this 2.66 mile super high speed racetrack. Love the track in real life. Hopefully you guys will love the racing at Talladega this season. We head to Chicago right after Talladega. NASCAR really fell in love with some road courses this season. Don't know why. I don't know if it's because of the fact we're bringing a new manufacturer in, but we'll be heading to New York for the Rush Hour 350. This track is located in New York, and it's called the New York Metro Speedway. This is a 2 mile, 9 turn racetrack with a capacity of 233,000 people. I've also heard rumor that once the track is here and has been, put in place, you can't leave. So that's partially why we have 233,000 fans. The Brickyard 400 then, of course, comes in as race number 26. From there, we head to Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen will be under the lights this season, and I'm looking forward to it because we're going back to New York after we leave New York just to come to Watkins Glen, New York for another road course. There's a ton of road courses going on out there. Hopefully we'll be able to match our track record of a 108.3, but I'm not too confident because we have a brand new manufacturer. And hopefully this time you guys are going to be looking forward to seeing who that will be. Continuing our very rare night slate after Watkins Glen, we go to Michigan. Once we go to Michigan, which is also at night, we'll head to Bristol in Tennessee. This will be the first race of the season at Bristol, and it kind of falls a little bit later on in the season than it normally would. The chase for the Cup also starts during the night slate, where we have to go to California. California will be under the lights, continuing the night phase, as well as Richmond under the lights will also be part of the chase this season. From there, we then head to New Hampshire for the Sylvania 300 in Loudon. Following another race at Dover, we then head to Kansas for the Banquet 400. After Kansas comes the Daytona race under the lights, which is the Pepsi 400. The Pepsi 400 switches places with Talladega, which is why that happened. That's why Talladega was a little bit earlier up in the season, and Daytona fell down into the chase. Then we go to Charlotte, and then from Charlotte, we head to the short track at Martinsville for the Subway 500. Martinsville is a great track located in Martinsville, Virginia. The Ford 400 happens one race sooner in the calendar. Rather than it being the tail end race of the season, it is now the second to the last race. Although the Ford 400 did put on an amazing show between me and Kurt Busch, NASCAR felt like it was time to make a small change to where we're going to end the season at. So the Ford 400 happens one race sooner in the 36 race calendar. NASCAR moved the race ending or the season finale back to where it used to be, Atlanta. We will end the season at the Atlanta Motor Speedway for the Georgia 500. Looking forward to that this season. We've got a lot of driver moves that we need to kind of cover. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it. First of all, Joe Nemechek stays in the 01 car. Martin Truex Jr. gets a full-time ride in the 1, which means that he is officially now a full-time driver. He will be fighting for Rookie of the Year this year. Kurt Busch moves into the famous number 2 car after Rusty Wallace had announced that he was going to retire at the end of the season. This came as a shock announcement because Rusty had been doing so well. So Roger Penske tabbed Kurt Busch to take over the number 2 car. Same with the number 5 car. Now, we already knew that Terry Labonte was on his way out as a full-time driver. This now opens the door for Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch ran a few races last season in the 84 car and is now officially in the number 5 car. Travis Kvapil stays in the 06 car. That is no real change. He'll be making a few starts here and there. He will be trying to go for Rookie of the Year. Mark Martin is driving the number 6 car. We'll get the bumper fixed soon. Don't worry. I got that and we got that planned. Don't worry. It's going to get fixed. So Mark Martin will also be in the 6 car this year. In the 07 car is Clint Bowyer. Clint Bowyer will be driving a medley of different cars for Richard Childress Racing, but hopefully he will do well in his car. Robbie Gordon is going it alone this season in the number 7 car. Dale Earnhardt Jr., of course, stays in the number 8 of his namesake father for DEI. Kasey Kahne gets a new fresh coat of paint for this season as he will be driving the 9 car. Scott Riggs was re-signed and will still be in the 10 car. Denny Hamlin will join Joe Gibbs Racing in the 11 car. Ryan Newman is going to stay in the 12 car. Sterling Marlin moves from the 40 car down into the 14 car for, I believe this is Gen Racing. I could be wrong. Correct me in the comments if I am. Greg Biffle stays in the 16 car, signed on for another year. So is Matt Kenseth. JJ Yaley inherits the 18 car as Bobby Labonte has left Joe Gibbs Racing. Joe Gibbs Racing decided to go with a younger approach, so that is part of the reason why you see Denny Hamlin and JJ Yaley in the car, along with elder statesman Tony Stewart. Jamie Mayfield stays on with 19 to help stay with Kasey Kahne as Evernham Motorsports looks to get into the chase and stay in the chase and actually be a competitor, because Kasey Kahne wasn't that much of a competitor last season. And I just mentioned it, Tony Stewart stays in the 20 car. Ken Schrader takes over the number 21 car from Ricky Rudd as Ricky Rudd has decided to retire at the end of the last season. He didn't feel like his performance was that great, and he wanted to go ahead and find something else to do, maybe take some time out to be with family. Ken Schrader has decided to step in to those shoes at the 21 car for the Wood Brothers Racing. Dave Blaney is now in the 22 car, taking over for, Ward Burton and Scott Wimmer. Scott Wimmer will hopefully try to get back into the 22 car, but knowing Dave Blaney, he won't let that happen. Jeff Gordon returns for another season in the 24 car. Brian Vickers also returns in the 25 car. Jamie McMurray moves from Chip Ganassi Racing to a 5-car organization at Roush. Kevin Harvick is still in 29. Jeff Burton moves into the 31 car as the 99 team was basically shut down, aka He was kicked out of his ride. He moved over to the 31 to replace Robbie Gordon, who went on to do his own thing with his own team. David Strimmy inherits the number 40 car after Sterling Marlin decided to go to the 14. Reed Sorensen, of course, is in the 41. Casey Mears is in the 42 car. This is a very young lineup for Chip Ganassi Racing, and this is going to be a problem for them going forward. Baba Labani has moved over to Petty Enterprises. With Kyle Petty retired, they still wanted to have an extra driver in that 43 car, so they moved Baba Labani over there after Jeff Green decided not to return at the end of the season. As you guys know, Kyle Petty retired, but I just like having his scheme in the game. Jimmy Johnson stays in the 48 car. Michael Waltrip has left the 15 team to start his own race team. So Michael Waltrip will be driving the number 55 Dodge. I said 55 Dodge, it's really 55 Napa Dodge, but who's really splitting hairs over that? Dale Jarrett stays in the 88. Tony Raines moves to Hall of Fame Racing's number 96. Carl Edwards takes over the number 99 after Jeff Burton was let go from his contract. Some other drivers that we may see throughout the season: Jimmy Spencer in the 4 cars, Steve Park in the 7, Mike Wallace in the 09, Mikasuki Chevrolet. This is a change because they were Dodge at one point and they are now Chevy this season. Greg Sachs in the 13, Larry Foyt in the 14. We just might see Paul Menard try to make some starts this season for that DEI number 15 Menards car, because DEI does want the 15 car to be out there on track. Paul Menard will have to qualify in on time, and if we're not mistaken, there are 28 drivers every single race trying to make it their way into the show. Shane Meal still tries to pilot that Bill Davis Racing number 23 car because they can't find another driver for that 23, and Bill Davis is just adamant that at some point that 23 car will make its breakthrough and be in the field more consistently. Johnny Sauter will try to pilot the number 30 America Online car. We will see if they even make some attempts at the track this season. They didn't do all that well in the RCR equipment, and you guys know RCR, they don't like wasting money on things. Ricky Craven, who almost saw himself out of the ride, has worked a part-time deal with the 32 team, so Ricky Craven will be making a few starts this season. Kerry Earnhardt will also be making a few starts this season for RCR as well in the 33 car. He made a few starts last season and he did pretty well, so he's hoping to kind of curtail that into a full-time ride. Kevin LePage in the 37 car, nothing needs to be said. He's unsponsored. They will just be trying to make it to the show. Elliott Sadler is a full-time driver. Don't ask how he wound up in this part of the list. I'm going to get that taken care of. But he is a full-time driver. He will be driving for Robert Yates Racing alongside Dale Jarrett. Scott Pruitt in the 39 car will continue to make as many road course starts as possible because there's a lot of road courses this season and teams would love to have the 39 car on the track. As you guys know, Terry Labonte has moved on from full-time racing. He ran a partial schedule last season in the 5 car. He is now going to run a partial schedule this season in the 44 car for Hendrick Motorsports. He is really there as a mentor for the number 5 team, which would be Kyle Busch. After a very interestingly tough and overperforming season in the 45 car, John Andretti will be a full-time driver in the 45 for the upcoming season. He is definitely looking forward to being there and hopes to get back into the chase as he is on a 1-year deal. Carl Long, nothing needs to be said here. Perennial part-timer, just looking to make it into the show. Derek Cope and PJ Jones will be sharing the number 50 car. PJ Jones will try to get in on the road courses. He missed quite a few chances to get onto the track last season. He'll hopefully try to make it onto the track this season. And of course, Derek Cope will try to make it onto the track for the speedways and super speedway races. It all depends on if he can make it in on time and speed. There's a reason why Joe is still listing as a Pontiac. I haven't revealed to you guys who our new manufacturer will be, but Joe will also be a full-time driver this upcoming season alongside Steven W1323. Jason Leffler will be trying to make some select starts in the 60 car, and that car is actually shared between two different manufacturers, as Boris said will also try to qualify in on time in his Ford Fusion number 60 car. Kirk Shelmerdine, nothing needs to be said. He will try to just make it in. Doesn't have the funding that he needs, but he will try every single chance he can get. Brendan Gaughan is a part-time driver this season, didn't perform all that well in the 77, and even got benched a race for causing like 2 or 3 cautions by himself. So they moved him to a part-time role this season as he is more focused on the Busch Series full-time to try to get his seat time up. We will hopefully see Brendan Gaughan make some starts, but it's no guarantee that Brendan Gaughan will be on track this season. Kenny Wallace in the 78 Furniture Row car will just be hoping to make the show. He has been a journeyman of late, and he hopes to stop the journey and make it back to full-time cup level competition. Mike Bliss will be in the 80 car. He'll just hopefully try to make the show. Bill Elliott and AJ Allmendinger were skipped for a reason. AJ Allmendinger will be trying to make a full-time schedule this season. Bill Elliott is still a part-timer, but they are part of the upcoming brand new manufacturer. So they will be revealed a little bit later. They have the covers on their cars, so we're not allowed to view those cars yet, but just know the 83 and the 84 are going to be joining the new manufacturer coming into the sport. Also trying to make the field this season will be Morgan Shepherd in the 89 and Andy Hillenberg in the 90. That car will also be shared by the number 90 of Stephen Light, who will also be trying to make his own select few starts, running underneath as a satellite for Roush Racing. Stanton Barrett in the 94 will just try to make the show in general, and so will Todd Bodine. That rounds out every single driver we have. And if I can, I'm going to try to make a little graphic for you guys to kind of pinpoint who's doing what, but hopefully you guys just heard all of what I just said and are okay with that, because there's a lot that just happened in that. And now, the reveal you guys have all been waiting for. I know you guys have been looking forward to seeing who we're going to be working with. And when I say working with, I mean, who's our manufacturer going to be? You guys know Pontiac went off into the sunset at the end of the season last year. We took them to a championship. We took them to a manufacturer's title. You know, I've won 2 titles already in my career in the 3 years I've been racing. So for year 4, well, it only makes sense that we go and join Honda. Honda, with its long, rich racing history, has decided to bring the Honda Civic Type R to the NASCAR Cup Series. And I'll be piloting the number 53 car. Joe and Steven, they'll be piloting their own Chevys or Hondas as well. On top of that, we've got some extra manufacturer support with the 83 and the 84 car from Team Red Bull, because Honda, after they decided to leave F1 and scale back their entire operations, they wanted to go into the newest market they could find. That new market just so happens to be NASCAR. And with the openings that were available for them, they decided to jump on it before Toyota could even get their foots in the door. So, without further ado, I present to you Honda Neko Darius Racing. Yes, Honda, as in manufacturer support Honda, because, you know, I didn't have any support at the end of, last season. So I now have support, and they decided to pretty much take a lot of my money, plus extra lawsuits and legal fees between me and GM finally settled. I only have $60,000 in the bank. So I had to do some serious downsizing. I had to sell a large majority of my stuff. Basically, I had to find a new crew. We're back basically what feels like square one. And I wouldn't have it any other way. If you like today's video of the preseason, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next video as we start our brand new campaign with Honda. Be easy, everybody.